Hello, everyone. Great to virtually see you today. You probably know my name by now, but in case you're one of the new sites, I'm Stephanie Legoski, and I'm broadcasting here as your host for the Nursing Home Without Walls Implementation Support webinar series. And today's discussion actually for the webinar is our post-event discussion. So reflections and opportunities for improvement. And this follows our spring event that we held, I guess it was about a month ago. Time flies. So today's discussions will be in English and French. And we're pleased to offer simultaneous interpretation provided by Boost Events for this session. So on the bottom of your screen, you can select your preferred language from the interpretation button, interpretation menu, or remain on the call as is if you care to listen to the discussions in both languages. And if you need any support at any time during this webinar, you could reach out to one of our producers using the chat feature. And our producers today are Maëlle, Natalie, and Kirsten. And we invite you to share questions or comments at any point using the chat box in both English and French. We can translate both ways. And when we open up for discussion at the end of our webinar, you could also unmute yourself, take yourself on camera, and participate that way if you prefer. All right, next slide, please. So before going further, I would like to acknowledge that we are meeting on land that has been inhabited by Indigenous people since the beginning. And even though we are meeting virtually, we are broadcasting this webinar from Ottawa, which is the traditional and unceded territory of the Anishinaabe Algonquin Nation. And we recognize their historic connection to this land and place, and we are deeply grateful to gather here today. Next slide. So today I am joined by Suzanne and Judy. So at this point, you know, all three of us, I won't do introductions. And we are pleased to split the presentation up and share with you some of the things that we've heard from the event that happened and open it up for some discussion to hear from some of you on your reflections from the event. Next slide, please. So following on that, the goals for today are first to celebrate the success of our Nursing Home Without Walls spring event. That includes sharing some wonderful photos, some illustrations, as well as a really awesome video that we have that we're really excited to show you. The next is to share back what we heard at the event during all of our different group activities and some next steps to action as a Nursing Home Without Walls community. And the last one is to host an open discussion on any post-event reflections and opportunities moving forward that you may have reflected on since leaving the event. So I'm going to hand it off to Suzanne, who is going to go through the celebration part of our webinar, arguably the most exciting aspect of today. So over to Suzanne.
Good morning, and thank you, Stephanie. I'm going to continue in French. And so if you want to get your translation together, that would be wonderful. And so, ça me fait plaisir d'être ici. Puis, comme Stephanie le disait,
It's a great pleasure to be here with you. And because Suzanne, as Suzanne said, it is the most exciting part of today's webinar where we will talk about our time together that we spent a month ago. You can see the pictures on your screen, and there are also so many other pictures that we can share with you over the next few weeks. We will send you a message when they're available. But what we can see here, we see your engagement. We see how much fun we had. And I also hope that you had time for celebration. This is what we wanted to do. Spending this day together was to meet, but also to celebrate your achievements, your leadership. and all your advancements for the Nurses Home Without Walls. And of course, we would like to we wanted to see the assessments of all the program, and we had so many comments and feedback. At the end of the day, that was so positive. We saw that it was a great success, and we are super happy. But of course, we really appreciate being able to do this for you. Next, prochaine diapo.
Thank you.
Here we are sharing some feedback and some drawings that was shared online during the events. And so here we have an overview of our day together. We had so many amazing conversations. We had really, we can call them connecting conversations. We had the opportunity of exchanging on our communities, on how the project went from a pilot to implementation and to provincial programs, and to really highlight all the collaboration that takes place in your communities. This is a success of Nursing Homes Without Walls. And as you were talking about your communities, the people with whom you work, you collaborate every day in order to highlight the work of the program. And here we see that the future is bright. Thanks to this illustration, we see that. And it is thanks to you all. We can also see that we are meeting all across provinces. We are also united with research conferences, and we were able to exchange all of these elements when we spent that day together. Next slide. If you want to give any feedback, any comments, if you want to just participate in the chat, don't worry. Go ahead. If you have any ideas, any feelings, anything you'd like to share with us, when you see those pictures, those illustrations, just don't hesitate at all. We will have the opportunity of talking about this together later in the webinar. But yes, I just wanted to say that the chat is open. We can see here with this group picture, I checked, and we see that everyone has a really, really large smile. We had lots of pleasure that day. And we can see that we're also working hard. So we see that it was really a big success to meet. We had a lot of sharing, and during the meeting, we had the ABCD flip chart, and Cindy was there working with us. And this was really a group effort because the day was such a big success. And so we talked to the people who were there. It is the ABCD development. So we have the community developments and the forces or strength. And then we did the exercise. And this allowed us to really question how we engage within our communities, with the community members. How can we work with pairs and connections, and to really see how people can give us, and also what the people want to make happen in their communities, right? So within the NHWW, without even realizing at the start, is this approach that was at the base of everything, the foundation, and this is what really carried us forward. And this is what we really want to highlight today. So I hope that you are now back into this amazing event. It was on the 18th or the 19th of March, right? Oh yes, 19th, it is on the picture. And if you have here you might have the feeling that we're still together, even though this is virtually today, we are still creating a community, and you should be feeling comfortable, communicating with each other. If you have learned, if you want information about activities about other groups, what they're doing, you can just do that. It is a very inclusive and communicative community here. Also, we want to include also the HEC, and we are here with you, you know, so we want to push you to develop your program and support you as much as possible. So I think that the next slide is the video. We hope that you will have so much excitement by watching this video as we had when we created it. And we'll see if you want to share anything, just put it on the chat. And here's the video now.
Suzanne Dupuis-Blanchard, innovator for Nursing Home Without Walls and professor researcher at Université de Moncton. So Nursing Home Without Walls started as a Healthy Seniors pilot project. The 4 pilot sites in that project were Lamec, Inkerman, Packetville, and Port Elgin. And the objectives of Nursing Home Without Walls in the pilot site was about access to services and accompaniment, also about social health programs to tackle social isolation and loneliness, also to provide knowledge for healthy aging, and to empower communities to become age-friendly communities.
I'm Trissa Salmon. I am the lead seniors navigator with Nursing Homes Without Walls in the Port Elgin location. All of our hard work 5.5 years ago has come to today.
Mon nom, c'est Guylaine Ward. Je suis la directrice générale des résidences Lucien Saint-Don. Aujourd'hui, on est à l'événement.
My name is Guylaine Ward.
Soins sans mur qui se déroule à Moncton.
We're excited. I'm so excited to talk to all the different new sites that have opened, share some ideas and learn as well.
Jusqu'à date, on avait une petite réunion de groupe hier soir pour apprendre à se connaître les uns envers les autres, qui était très plaisant. Puis aujourd'hui, c'est des rencontres de groupe.
Mon nom est Bruno Holmes, je suis directeur général du manoir Édith Pétilette à Packetville. Aujourd'hui, on a vraiment fait une journée d'échange entre tous les sites de Foyer sans mur pour connaître qu'est-ce que les défis, qu'est-ce que les opportunités, qu'est-ce que nos opportunités d'améliorer les services, d'ajouter des services, puis aussi de voir qu'est-ce que les obstacles.
So it's Tammy Malley. I'm a seniors navigator with Chanex Loger Hall. This was a really great event. I look forward to if we have another one in the future, we'll definitely be attending. It was just really nice to be able to meet with everybody and kind of get some more information about the program that perhaps, you know, other sites are able to educate us on. Les gens sont contents, tout le monde est content d'être là, c'est un beau projet, puis on a tous le même but commun.
De voir qu'est-ce qu'on peut faire pour que les personnes âgées puissent rester le plus longtemps possible à la maison.
So we saw people with a lot more access to services. We saw social isolation and loneliness being addressed, and also some communities becoming age-friendly. There was also a high level of satisfaction with Nursing Home Without Walls.
Isn't it wonderful? Sorry, Stephanie, I just have to say, I still have chills watching it. And so I hope you enjoy it as much as we do. J'espère que vous l'avez bien aimé la vidéo et on
So I
continue.
really hope you loved this video, and we will start now. We'll continue with Stephanie.
Thanks, Suzanne. I also love the video. I'm very glad that we had somebody there to capture this. And as it was said earlier in the chat, the video, yes, will soon be available on the desktop with French and English subtitles. So you can use that video as you wish and share it and play it and all the good things. So thank you, Suzanne, for sharing some of the things that have come out from our event. And I am going to start us off with sharing some of what we've heard from the event activities. So when we were planning the event, we were mindful of organizing activities that that we heard from you would be helpful, and also that we could gather information from and help make the program better and help support you better. So from the beginning, it was always our intention to really listen to the conversations that were being had and to take all of the notes and what you shared and meet as a group and reflect on what you're telling us, what you need, what's helping, what's not helping, and collectively come up with ways that we could better support you and better support the program, especially as we continue to spread past the original 20 sites here and into more and more areas of New Brunswick. So next slide, please. I'm going to go through some of what we heard and some ideas of what we can do moving forward. So you'll recall this activity here when we you went up site by site and with your stickers identified how you feel you are contributing or not contributing to the Nursing Home Without Walls goals from the program logic model. And I think at the event that Merle and Reg said it best when they said, the outcome looks like a perfectly balanced wheel. And I don't think we knew what we were going to get when we did this activity, but I think it's really reassuring to us that this shows that there's not a single goal where nobody feels that they are contributing to, and there's not a single goal where everybody feels super strongly that they've got it down and they're definitely contributing to that goal. It's varied depending on where you're at in your implementation process. It's varied depending on the nature of the services that you are providing and what stage you're at with that. So this is a really nice thing for us to see that it is really balanced. And I think that this is an exercise that would be good to perhaps repeat in a year, maybe once we're further along and there's been more support provided and there's been more developments within your programs to see if there's any change there as well. So I think watch this space because we'll probably do this again and see if anything's changing, and if it is, what we should collectively do about that. So next slide, please. So in terms of what was helping you to achieve your Nursing Home Without Walls goals that we provide or facilitate to you, and the we being Suzanne, the University of Moncton, social development, HEC, these were the 5 high-level things that we were able to pull out, and those are upfront funding for you to get started and do what you need to do in your programming, implementation support, a collaborative network amongst sites to share and knowledge exchange, coaching pods, as well as education and training opportunities. And these are all things that we really affect and that we provide. So it's good for us to know this so that we can continue to do these things, that we know that these are some strong backbones to what helps you achieve the Nursing Home Without Walls goals. If there's anything else other than this that we tend to provide or facilitate for you that's helping you, please share as well, because then we'll know to continue doing those things and to continue to focus our resources on providing that. Next slide, please. So this is a visual representation of 2 of the exercises that we did together. We did a barriers and facilitators exercise, and we also did the blue sky exercise, which was the last piece of the day. And the barriers and facilitators on this sheet, which are hard to probably see from your screen, but will be sent around to you so you can see them bigger. The barriers and facilitators are less about necessarily what we're providing in this program and more about what you're seeing in your communities, in your contexts, in the ways that you are developing and delivering your programs that are either helping you in your work, or perhaps a barrier that could be addressed. So we've also taken a look at these to try and understand better what you're really working with and how we could help support to either lessen those barriers or help support those facilitators. And this leads generally to the blue sky activity. And this is where I will pass it off to Judy in a second, of the things that, you know, we could either take and run with and really do good things with, or things that we should probably address now so they don't become bigger pieces down the line. And so what happened is that we took all of the notes from this activity, we put them down, we tried to group them into similar themes. So let us know in the chat whether or not there were some themes that you're not seeing there. And then we thought of doing some problem solving and things that we could do to address them. So I'm curious to know whether you guys think that we've hit the mark there or whether there's more things that we can do. But I'm going to take it over to Judy now, who's going to actually show you some of the themes that we've identified and some of the ideas that we have to address those themes.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Stephanie. And maybe just before I dive in to the next slide, please, I too just want to reiterate, I guess, my appreciation and gratitude to each of you who are able to be at that in-person event. As Suzanne shared, and I just love Suzanne's passion whenever she speaks about Nursing Home Without Walls, but in particular, the event that we had in March, there really was that tangible energy in the room. And when you watch that video, I think that energy was captured quite nicely. And I think that energy comes from you guys, from a true passion and kind of commitment for the work that you're doing and the goals that Nursing Home Without Walls has set out to achieve. So thank you, I guess. And that's with that, we wouldn't have had the rich discussion and in-depth sharing that we had if you didn't come kind of with that open mind and commitment to wanting this program to have the success that it's having and to be able to continue to grow it. So hopefully you see that reflected in these slides, and that's certainly how we have taken the feedback. So thank you for that open and honest discussion that we had. And again, I need to acknowledge Suzanne's students who took all those flip charts. There were a lot of them at the end of the event, and they documented everything so that all of that discussion isn't lost. We have it documented well. We continually refer back to it. And these slides, the next 3 slides that I'm going to work through, are really just kind of a capture of that discussion. We know that there's more to it. If there's something that you shared that you're disappointed that it didn't make this slide and you feel that it needs that high elevation, feel free to pop it into the chat. But also knowing that we have full documentation of the event. And these were just some of the key themes that we pulled out from our initial review of the material. And again, as Stephanie shared, this in terms of how we're going to support you moving forward, is really that Nursing Home Without Walls working group. So it's not a one kind of area for support. And the last slide is really the reflection of the items that you guys identified that we would do together as well. So just, I guess, to dive right in, some of the opportunities that you guys identified where we could be supporting better is around the funding and financial sustainability of the program. So not a surprise to hear this, and glad that it was raised. And at this time, I'm excited to be able to share that the Nursing Home Without Walls is part of the provincial budget, as you would have heard, and an expansion to an additional 10 sites is also included in that provincial budget. What our team here at Social Development has been able to do is we've worked with senior leadership, and going forward for the sites that are currently offering the program, we're going to look at multi-year contracts. So there'll be more information to come out on that as we move forward. We also heard during this event is just the importance of having kind of that centralized Nursing Home Without Walls guidance and resources. As you know, they're kind of housed on the online platform at this time. And what we heard is maybe a desire to have a bit more. So Healthcare Excellence Canada is facilitating the development of an implementation guide. So for those of you who are along your journey, the guide might not have as much information as you're looking for. It might be things that you've actually shared and fed into, and your experience is going to help future Nursing Home Without Walls sites, both within our province and beyond. But that resource is in the works. And we also have, this was kind of identified under for us to work on, but you'll see it come up again because I see this development of Provincial Nursing Home Without Walls guidelines being a joint effort on our behalf. It's certainly something that I see doing with Nursing Home Without Walls sites. And with that, you also see the bullet at the bottom of maintaining that program flexibility. That was key. We heard that throughout the day. We're going to ensure that that's part of those guidelines, that there's that flexibility that remains, that's so key to this program. We also heard the importance of facilitating communication amongst Nursing Home Without Walls sites. So hopefully you got the notification that the directory of all the Nursing Home Without Walls sites has now been added both to the online platform and it's also available on Social Supports NB. So if you're looking for contact information for any of your colleagues, the email and phone numbers are there. There's a couple of the new sites that are just waiting to create their Nursing Home Without Walls email, but as soon as that information is available, it will be updated as well. So we are really encouraging you to take initiative, and we're here to support in those networking activities and initiatives amongst yourself. And we also have a commitment to maintaining that online learning platform. While we continue to work with HEC in that partnership, it will remain where it is with the online platform. And we're just currently looking at opportunities of how, as HEC transitions from their role, is how will we maintain that as a province. But there is that commitment that all those resources and all the information that you're sharing that we've documented will remain available to you on an online platform of some format. So next slide, please. So another area that we heard about was that desire to have better onboarding of new sites. So this is a big one, and we appreciate your patience because we're learning alongside you. When this was announced for provincial expansion was the same time that our working group came together. So there wasn't necessarily that opportunity to develop all these resources and present them to you as a package as a site that was interested in implementing Nursing Home Without Walls. But at the same sense, I think that the value and the richness of the resources that have been developed are so much more because we've been on this journey together and the material has been developed with each other. So we're learning from you, what do you need and what would be helpful along this journey. So that has allowed kind of a more richness, I think, in some of those resources that are available, but we do certainly appreciate that it's not always the easiest journey to be on with us. So we thank you again for your patience as we learn. And as I already shared, so there will be that implementation guide. So, you know, for those future sites, those 10 more that are coming on, there will be kind of that guide that they'll have. And we also heard that there's that interest to kind of do more formalized peer-to-peer support in those onboarding coaching sessions. So we're going to be more intentional when a new site joins a coaching pod, what that looks like. And also our coaches will be supported, and we'll be doing some work at developing curriculum for onboarding new coordinators as they come and join our group. Another area that we heard about was kind of this interest and desire, which we really appreciate, for more in-depth kind of questions or tracking for the participant tracker. So again, we really encourage you, if that's of interest to your site, or if there isn't something as part of that tracker that you want to keep track of, evaluate for your own individual site, that tracker can be as flexible as you wish. So you can add additional tabs, additional columns. The reason why the the participant tracker is the way it is because we were trying to be mindful of not having a reporting burden for sites, knowing that sites come from all different kind of backgrounds when it comes to evaluation and reporting. So the intention behind that tool was really as the baseline, the kind of the basics of what we require to evaluate the Nursing Home Without Walls program. So please use that tool how you wish, and we will see as we transition now to the online portal for tracking information, there will be kind of more opportunity for you as well in how you use that information and your dashboards that will be available. We will also be focusing the June webinar on mindful data collection practices. So this will be your opportunity to soak up some additional information and knowledge around data collection and how to use it to enhance your Nursing Home Without Walls program, and that the item that we continually talk about improving practices. So that will be our focus for June. If you have any specific areas that you want covered, again, please feel free to pop them in the chat so we'll be mindful to ensure to cover those. We also heard that you're interested in more and additional education and training opportunities. And there was a few ideas put out. So just to let you know that we heard that, I'm at the moment working on some of these training opportunities and hope to have more information, but certainly there will be some training sessions coming up, and in particular, as we heard from Merle and Reg around that cultural awareness and safety, likely will be one of the first ones, as we heard that you all have an interest in learning more and becoming more kind of aware of those items in your work. So that will be probably the first training session to follow. We also heard an interest from you to facilitate best practices amongst communities and some additional opportunities for that peer-to-peer learning. So Healthcare Excellence Canada has come up with a great addition to our implementation series to have and host ideation cafes. So this will be a series of kind of brainstorming sessions that will follow. So more information to come on that, but those are something to look forward to. We also heard that there's an interest and a desire and a passion to kind of ensure that what you're hearing when you're working directly with older adults in the community and opportunities to improve the social development services, that information isn't lost. So again, I'm making that commitment to you, that what the feedback that you share with me on some of those barriers that older adults in the community are facing, some of those limitations to the social development programs currently being offered, I am sharing that information with my colleagues who work in those areas and who can influence the policies in those programs. So again, not making a commitment that I can make changes to those programs, but the feedback that you share is certainly being shared with those who have influence in those areas and will continue to happen. So I encourage you to continue to share with me. Next slide, please. So this last slide, so it's a little bit busy, but we just wanted to make sure to reflect back to you that we heard you. We heard the feedback. And these are the areas that we have a commitment that we'll work together in. So some of the themed areas, and again, as you can appreciate, some of them fall under various ones. This was just kind of a quick grouping to make it a bit easier to reflect on a slide. So some of the areas that we're going to work together on is that process and program improvements. So as we talked about the program standards, I'm going to be looking to you for feedback on those standards. We're going to continue to improve our data collection. We heard from teams that they themselves want to start setting some SMART goals. So that will be part of our discussion in the June webinar. How can you do that, and tools and tips for setting those goals that you then can measure and move forward on. I'm not going to read them all just because they're here and the slides will be available, but just for the matter of time. We also heard lots around collaboration, and I think that's key. That was one of our main goals for that March 19th event. And we're going to continue to work together, collaborating both with our Nursing Home Without Walls group, but also with others. So we want some better opportunities to collaborate with social development. There's some meetings in the works for some of the zones, as well as I've heard from different coordinators that you're reaching out yourself to connect with social development. So I continue to encourage you to do that. And you also want integration with other programs. So again, we've talked about that contact list is now available. You had a chance to have a look at the posters from each of the sites. So maybe if there was another site that you really identified with and had some curiosity that you want to learn more about their program, certainly we encourage you to reach out to each other and develop those relationships. There's a huge commitment to wanting to enhance your knowledge and kind of that education exchange. So we're going to continue on with those monthly webinar series. We also heard that you want a bit more opportunity to share during those sessions. So again, hence the opportunity for that open discussion at the end of this one, and we'll continue to build in those opportunities in future webinars as well. We're going to continue our community of practice, lots of opportunities for education coming up. And again, maybe I'll put a little plug in here that if there is an area that you're looking for additional training on, feel free to send that to me and I can look into opportunities to ensuring that the training is available to all coordinators. We have our implementation guide and toolkit coming out. And I kind of like this other box. So just kind of a catch-all for some of those things that we heard that we want to work together on. So celebrating those wins. So certainly we feel like this webinar was intended to be one of those, celebrating that win of coming together, our first kind of formal activity as a cohort of 20 of the first 20 Nursing Home Without Walls sites in New Brunswick. And we're going to look for those opportunities to continue to celebrate. And hopefully you saw the news release that the government released shortly after our event as well. And we've seen different sites doing different promotional things as well. So continue to celebrate those wins and please share them with us as the working group as well, because we love to hear the different things that are happening in the community. Raising awareness. And one of the other big things is that the staffing. So certainly we've heard that. I think it's connected to that funding piece. So we just wanted to make sure it was in here so that you all knew that we heard you in terms of, we know that there's a lot of responsibility on a lot of sites and very limited staff. Again, your work is acknowledged and appreciated, but we certainly have heard the need for additional staffing, and I've shared that up with my senior leadership as well. So I think at this point, I'll pass it back to Stephanie, but we'd like to open up for chat.
Thank you, Judy. So that's a lot. That's a lot. But we wanted to make sure we were, really sharing back with you because of the generosity that you've given us in terms of giving all of these ideas and suggestions about what we feel we can commit to and what our next steps are moving forward. And, we're at this very critical point in the program where we've reached 20 sites, and some of those 20 have been doing this for years. Some of those 20 have been doing this for weeks, and we're about to have potentially 10 more sites. So we're at a really crucial part in the program to reflect and figure out where we want to go and how we can do that together. So that's what we have from the event. Now we're curious to hear from you, and you can share in any way you would like. This is also our commitment to hearing from you that you want more opportunity to share with one another. So we're leaving a substantial amount of time at this webinar to do so. You can share in the chat. You could turn on your cameras for an open discussion. It's entirely up to you. But we wanted to hear from you how what we've shared today resonates. Is there anything that's missing that you're surprised hasn't been put on the screen despite having heard that at the event? Is there anything that we should prioritize and work on quicker? Anything you're working on at your site as a result of the event that's happened? So this is an open opportunity to discuss, and we will look at the chat and be ready to respond back. Cindy, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Again, Stephanie and Judy and Suzanne, thank you for that overview because it was excellent. I think I'm sure we all feel as excited now looking at that than we did during the session. So really well captured. Just a couple comments that I would like to make. One, our pod was lucky enough to have a meeting after the event, so had lots of great feedback that you'd see in our notes around how they felt about the session and the excitement and the engagement. A couple of things that came out was really how not pleased, I guess they were pleasantly surprised on how the similarities across the sites were. You know, I don't know if we all thought that each site was kind of on their own and doing their own thing, and they had the same, you know, not the same barriers or celebrations as other sites. And I think I can speak for our pod that they were pleasantly surprised on how much similarities there were across the communities. The other thing I would say is going forward is one of the things that came up was because the sites in the nursing homes are such different sizes, is that maybe the next time we have like some collaboration is to specifically put sites with other sites that are a small nursing home, maybe versus a larger nursing home or whatever, just kind of to see what might come out of those collaborations in regards to the sizes compared to overall. The artist renderings, I must say, again, they definitely warmed my heart when you put them up on the screen. Hopefully, each of the sites can somehow get those so that they could post them as well, you know, in their community rooms or what have you. I think, you know, those always excite people to see kind of what they capture. And she did an excellent job capturing what went on throughout the day. So that would be really nice to be able to have those. And again, I want to thank all three of you because when I, you know, writing notes here about next steps, I think, you know, again, speaking on behalf of our pod, you captured everything and really pleased to hear what the next steps are and what we're moving towards. So again, congratulations to the planning committee and to all three of you. Thank you.
We are really in this together. And you know, when we say we're here to support you, I think I speak for all three of us or organizations that we really mean it. And I'm kind of actually relieved, Cindy, that you're seeing the same things come out because it's normal to have that. I think there are differences between communities, but if we're basing it on research that has been done to bring us to Nursing Home Without Walls, that's exactly what Nursing Home Without Wall is founded on, is that we were always hearing the same things about the needs and the services that were needed and that were lacking. And so I'm kind of relieved and happy to know that you are actually noticing that they are the same things with a little twist, right? Little differences here and there, but basically they are the same, and they probably should be as well. Although we say, you know, person-centered and flexible, I think it all comes down to the same services sometimes.
And, you know, Suzanne, you'd find this funny. One of the first comments for our pod meeting is how the coordinators and what have you really didn't want to go to the session. And you don't want me to tell you the reason why they didn't want to go? They didn't want to give up their day serving their clients.
Yeah.
You know, they were really torn. And that's, you know, really, they expressed that loud and clear to me, was that at first it was like, oh my heavens, you know, we're not going to be able to do that day with our clients. But then needless to say, they're very thankful they went and they've learned lots and there was lots of collaboration. But, you know, I thought that was an interesting point that they brought up.
That commitment, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks for sharing that, Cindy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Does anyone else have any comments or reflections? I have a reflection that I will share about the balance between, and this kind of goes along with the ABCD piece, the balance between the support that we provide formally, such as a scheduled webinar, an ideation cafe, an event, and the kind of connections and venues and ways of doing things that you would do informally, and the balance between that. Because on one hand, we hear that you want to connect more, that you want more opportunities for learning. And, you know, one of our initial reactions to that would be to swoop in and put a bunch of stuff in your calendar for webinars and for trainings and for ways to connect. And perhaps that's helpful and perhaps you like having those options. Then the other side of it is, well, we don't want to make it seem like, you know, you have to do these things and you have to attend. And if you're not, you're falling behind or whatnot, because we know from what Cindy shared, as well as what we've heard before, that your time is precious and you're here to, you know, be doing the work and working with your clients and the older adults in your community. So for us, we're really trying to find that balance between responding to your needs with some more like formal scheduled support versus if you guys want to meet with some like Nursing Home Without Walls sites and you would like, you know, some help with scheduling that, but otherwise you'll do it on your own, then how can we sort of help you connect more informally versus what should we be doing to help you more formally? So any kind of tips or guidance, I know it's probably individual on a site to site basis, but the balance between us putting more things in your calendar for all of these opportunities versus helping you to connect as you wish at the pace that you want to with each other to share your knowledge. So just a reflection I had.
I can't believe they're so quiet. I know my pod, all of them are on there and they're not quiet, so.
It's Monday morning, I guess.
Kathy, brave. Tell us what you think, Kathy.
Good morning. Well, just on the contacting people, one thing that would be helpful, again, it'll as it goes along, but we are looking like for specific information. So if the directory that is built, and I haven't looked at it, Judy, so it may already contain this, but would highlight some of the things that this Nursing Home Without Walls program offers. Like we were looking for some specific information on those homes that are offering transportation. So what are they paying their drivers? What are their liability forms look like? That sort of thing. So I was able to get some information at the meeting. I just kind of did a little networking. Everyone was so helpful. So, but that might be a few things that each site is doing, and then we could look at them and say, aha, let's go after them and see that.
That's great feedback, Kathy. Thank you. The directory does not currently include that, so I will look at adding a few of the services that each of the sites are offering in that internal directory. Right now, it's just a duplicate of the directory that's available on Social Supports NB. So we'll look at a unique one for our internal use. Thank you for that feedback.
Maybe we could even look at the posters and get some information from that or something. Yeah.
Oatmael maybe just posted it. So the directory on the online contains all site information. So maybe there's more information there. I'm going to go have a look. I have not looked at the one in the online platform, I will admit as well. Maybe just why people are thinking, and again, please don't hesitate to pop your hand up and share a quick comment, but I did just want to thank Healthcare Excellence Canada. They were so generous that after the event, based on your excitement for the swag, they've ordered some additional swag. So they have been incredibly generous. I can't even tell you, it's so exciting. It's arriving at my home office on a daily basis. I get a few boxes. And just as people are sharing how meaningful some of those illustrations were, so they've developed like little notebooks with the illustration on the cover, which is great. And there's lots more stickers and greeting cards. I can't even tell you, more pens. So we will work on doing little packages as a gift from Healthcare Excellence Canada for each of you. So I'll be in touch with getting that to you as all the material arrives. But again, just a big thank you, and just wanting to set the expectations that this is not normally what you would see kind of in a program, but thank you to Healthcare Excellence Canada for this generous gift. And I know I've heard from lots of sites that it's been really meaningful and they've actually used up their swag quite quickly. And I know part of the online platform will be how can you order some of that swag for yourself, for your site, with your promotional budget, if that's something that's of interest and you found that it's useful for your site. The links for ordering some of the different material will be available so that it will be easy for you if you want to restock moving forward from here.
I have a
All right.
question.
Oh,
Sorry.
Cindy, go for it.
Well, you know, one of the sites in our pod has been designated as an age-friendly community. So one of the things we're going to do at our next pod meeting is just kind of chat about that and you know, got the application. Is that something you're seeing across Nursing Home Without Walls sites, that they are kind of moving towards and assisting that community to become age-friendly?
We have in the pilot sites. I'm not sure about the in the spread yet. But it is one of the objectives of Nursing Home Without Walls is, I mean, it can look differently, but I guess it's to, I think we use the word empower the local community or something like that. But I know in Port Elgin, they are getting ready to submit their application to become age friendly, and in other communities as well. It was slowed down by the changes to the municipalities and the villages and all that there, that restructuring. But some are definitely looking at that. I think it also comes maybe further down. I mean, I don't see it as a priority, maybe, you know, during the first few months. But if there's momentum there and there's interest, definitely. Doesn't mean that Nursing Home Without Walls has to lead it, but they can certainly take part or nudge council members or whatnot to become age friendly, definitely. Yeah.
Okay, well, if you think of anything else or would like to share with us in a different way, then we are always available via email as well, if you want to share any thoughts. As I've sort of said, we're at this critical point in the program where we've been collectively doing this as a group of 20 for well, not a full group of 20, but now a group of 20 for a number of months. And we're about to bring new people on. And, you know, we have a lot of webinars under our belts and a lot of information, but the event sort of sprouted all of these seeds of all these other things that we can do. So over the next few months, you'll see us try and respond to and produce and answer all of these things that you've raised with new resources, new webinar topics, and so on. So thank you again for all of the feedback you've given to date that helps us to help you, and keep it coming, because that's how we can make this program great. And in line with that, and Judy mentioned this in one of the slides, is an ideation cafe. And I'll admit, I've never heard of that before. So I am going to pass it over briefly to Maëlle to tell you a bit more about what an ideation cafe is and maybe get your thoughts on some topics for the first few. So over to you, Maëlle.
Hi, everyone, and thanks, Steph. And if you haven't heard the title Ideation Cafe, it's because we just invented it. So that's probably why. So the idea of having this Ideation Cafe, well, what it is intended to be is essentially a place for us to brainstorm together on any challenge or opportunity that we're working through as a community of Nursing Home Without Walls sites. These are optional. So you don't necessarily have to come. You don't have to take time out of your day. It's on an as needed basis for you. But the idea is to mirror a little bit of what we were doing at the Nursing Home Without Walls spring event, which is coming together around a topic or a question that we have and brainstorming together. So the idea is that a lot of you have mentioned that you want to share information across sites, but you know, being all over New Brunswick, it's a little bit difficult to always organize these big events for us to meet and share ideas. So these ideation cafes are intended to be virtual. We'll be using an online collaborative platform that we'll walk through together, but we'll use it to brainstorm together topics on themes or challenges, themes of challenges or opportunities that we want to brainstorm together as a community. So we will host 3 of these. We'll see how it goes. It's really not complicated at all. It's meant to be fun and to help us generate a lot of ideas that will be beneficial for your sites. So with the last few minutes that we have together, I'm wondering if we can all, each of you in the chat, write down if you could work with other sites and brainstorm ideas around a challenge or opportunity. That's something that you're working through right now or intend to be working on over the spring and summer. What challenge or opportunity would you want us to brainstorm on as a group? So I'll give you maybe 30 seconds to just think on that. It can be specific to your site, or it can be something broader for our community of practice. But I want you to think of a challenge or opportunity that you would like for us to ideate on, brainstorm on together. And then whenever you're ready, feel free to just type it into the chat and submit it. Just send it off in the chat. And then that way it'll give us ideas on what we can tackle in our first ideation cafe together. So just a few more seconds. Please write it in. And whenever you have your idea, feel free to type it in. All right, so Elizabeth has already wrote vacation coverage. Great, okay. And it can be multiple ones if you'd like. These sessions are to help us ideate as a community, so we can really tackle a whole range of topics. All right, Kathleen says, ressources éducatives pour les aînés, so educational resources for older adults. That's great, thank you. Transportation, yeah, I know we had, when we were at the spring event, transportation was a big theme. And we'll also draw from the event, all the themes that you've already identified too. So that's great, transportation. We have building community partnerships, prioritizing client needs, ideas on reaching more seniors. This is great. Activité de groupe, so hosting group activities, and types of activities for seniors that are cognitively well and or not well. That's great. Best ways to share our presence and contact the older community. That's great. So thanks everyone. If you have other questions or other themes on opportunities, challenges that you want us to kind of brainstorm on together, feel free to just send an email to the Nursing Home Without Walls email or to Judy, but Nursing Home Without Walls email at HEC is perfectly fine, or to myself. And on that note, I'll pass it back over to Steph. So stay tuned for more news on the ideation cafes.
Thanks, Mayal, and thanks everyone for your ideas and thoughts for the Ideation Cafe. That brings us to a close to our webinar today. So like we always do, there is a poll to evaluate the webinar that should pop up shortly. And while that is popping up, I see it on my screen. I'll just thank everyone again for attending today, for coming to the spring event. We love spending time with you and working together, and we're so pleased with all of the information you give us that we could do to help you, help improve the program. We love hearing about all of your successes in the community and how you're helping older adults to age in place across New Brunswick. It's really, truly a wonderful program to be a part of. Our next webinar should be in your calendars already. It's Monday, May 27th. So we look forward to seeing you there. Topic to be determined. And as well as we've shared in the chat, we have a new section on the resource hub for materials from the event. So go on, download the images, take what you need, share it as you wish. That's for you to use in your, your endeavors. And if you've not submitted your reimbursement for the Nursing Home Without Walls event, please do. That is another reminder. Yeah, we're right at the hour, so I will close there. Thank you, everyone, and look forward to seeing you in May.